will be the best Ramadan that we have. May Allah give us a beautiful Ramadan, and a beautiful Sha'ban is a great, we're going to be here. You know, a nice thing also about the Sunni country, this Sunni country, is they really honor the traditional days. Like the Nisf Sha'ban is a big night, you know. It's a big night. I'll tell you, there's a khilaf about it, which is fine. It's a khilaf. Imam Malik did not practice Sha'ban, Nisf Sha'ban. Imam Malik himself, he didn't. The hadiths were from the people of Sham. Al-Awza'i considered it a big night. The Sham ulama of the Tabi'een all elevated Nisf Sha'ban. But it spread throughout the world, and the Malikis ended up celebrating it. So even though Imam Malik, it's fine. If people don't want to celebrate, that's fine. But Ibn Rushd gave a great qa'idah. Ibn Rushd said, if you ever have an ikhtilaf about the rahmah of Allah, always err on the side of rahmah. You know, if there's a valid ikhtilaf, does the Quran get to dead people or doesn't it? He just said, look, just consider it that it gets there, because it's rahmah. And wherever there's more rahmah, then there's more Islam. Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, rahimahullah radiyallahu anhu, he said that al-Islam kulluha rahmah. فَإِذَا انْتَقَرَتْ مِنَ الرَّحْمَةِ إِلَى ضِدِّهَا لَيْسَ مِنَ الْإِسْلَامِ. Islam is all mercy. So if it goes from mercy to its opposite, it's not from Islam. He said, الْإِسْلَامُ حِكْمَةٌ كُلُّهَا حِكْمَةٌ فَإِذَا انْتَقَرَتْ مِنَ الْحِكْمَةِ إِلَى ضِدِّهَا فَلَيْسَ مِنَ الْإِسْلَامِ. Islam is all wisdom. So if it goes from wisdom to its opposite, it's not from Islam. He said, الْإِسْلَامُ عَدْلٌ كُلُّهُ عَدْلٌ فَإِذَا انْتَقَرَ مِنَ الْعَدْلِ إِلَى الْجَوْرِ لَيْسَ مِنَ الْإِسْلَامِ. He said that Islam is justice, it's all justice. So if it goes from justice to its opposite, then it's not from Islam. So may Allah inshallah give you all the blessing of this time. You know, may He give you the ability to make use of it. We really owe also a lot to the volunteers. There's a group of volunteers. Please treat them all with respect. You know, there's always going to be things that arise. That, you know, people can have genuine problems, and then you have whiners and complainers. And I'm not saying any of you are from those people. I don't think there's any whiners and complainers here, inshallah. But there are people that just, their nature is they just like to whine and complain. You know people like that. I mean, all of you have had those experiences. And so they will just find anything to whine or complain about. The food's not good enough, shame on you. You know, ma'aba ta'aman qat, ya Rasulullah. The Prophet ﷺ never criticized food. We have so much blessing. The food will be excellent food. So, you know, if you have a valid complaint or something, then take it to one of the people with adab. That's fine. But don't complain and just to be a complainer. So, nobody likes complainers, even other complainers. They don't, because they want to be complaining, and you're taking up all their time. Right? They want to wait till you stop complaining so they can start complaining. So, you know, inshallah, Aisha Subhani, mashallah, may Allah bless her. You know, she's mother and a physician, and she did so much work to really make this happen. And also Dr. Rajab Shintirk, he's the head of this incredible revival here of traditional Islamic studies, really doing a beautiful job. And I would say, he asked me yesterday, he wants master's and PhD candidates. So if anybody is looking to do a master's or PhD, then you can apply here. They have a 1-year program to learn Turkish. They put you in a mahad, it's 5 hours a day, and you learn university level Turkish in a year, and then you can do the master's and PhD. It's an accredited program. We're going to have, inshallah, Zaytuna during this time. We talked about it last year. We're going to have a letter of understanding, memorandum of understanding between the two institutions, so people that graduate from Zaytuna can come here automatically if they get a degree from Zaytuna, to do their master's PhD here. So alhamdulillah, and then yesterday we had Dr. Bakar, who's a beautiful man. He was a professor of philosophy. He's very close. He's one of the top advisors to the president, and he's on the board here because the President Erdogan has been very heavily involved in this institution here, which is part of the Alliance of Civilizations. So he visited us last year, and so maybe we'll get a visit, but they, just for security reasons and other things, they don't really tell us what's going to happen. So, but he's very, very great man, inshallah. May Allah protect him. And is there any, maybe just 4 questions, and then does anybody have any question they want to ask? Go ahead, tafadhal. What's that?
You mentioned, you quoted Ibn Rushd.
Yeah.
And you said if there's an ikhtilaf, if you can just...
If there's an ikhtilaf, a valid ikhtilaf amongst the ulama about something that involves the rahmah of Allah. Like he used it as the example of the qira'ah. Some of the ulama say you can recite for the dead and give it as charity to them. And some say you can't. Because there's a hadith, إِذَا مَاتِ ابْنُ آدَمَ انْقَطَعَ مِنْ عَمْرِهِ إِلَّا مِنْ ثَلَاثٍ. And some of them apply that hadith to the idea of qira'ah. So some say you can do a khatam of Quran and give the thawab to a dead person. And that's a khilaf. The majority of ulama say that you can, and that it does benefit the dead. But Ibn Rushd said this is a khilaf about the rahmah of Allah. And so when there's a khilaf about the rahmah, he said, it's better to assume the rahmah side of it. Because ma qadrullah haqqa qadrihi, they don't really give Allah His true estimate. Rahmati wasi'at kulli. So that was the point. So in a lot of these things, there's a khilaf about many things in Islam. They're not the majority of ulama permit the mawlid, and some don't. There are some valid ulama that just, they didn't like it. So, but they didn't say not to celebrate. You have to celebrate the mawlid. If you're not happy that he was born, you're a kafir. So you have to celebrate, because mawlid means makan and zaman. It's ism makan and zaman. You have to be happy. Ihtifal bil mawlid. You have to have ihtifal in your heart that the Prophet was born. And you should love the place he was born, which is Mecca. You have to. So, وَنَحْتَفِلُ بِمَكَّةَ بِمَوْلِدِهِ يعني. We have to. So, but the idea of specifying a day, like the 12th of Rabi' al-Awwal, and having formal things as a thing, some of the ulama said the early people didn't do it, let's not do it. But the vast majority, historically, said it was, and they had their proofs. The Mawlid of Isa is in the Quran. Surah Maryam is clearly celebrating his birth. And when the man asked the Prophet if I could fast on Mondays, he said, Fihi wuridtu. In other words, it's a good day. I was born on that day, so it's a good day. That's in Sahih Muslim. So it's saying it's an auspicious day. Just because he was born in that day, it's an auspicious day. And so he was acknowledging in the question of that man that one of the blessings of Monday is that was the day he was born. And so, the ulama have their proofs on both sides, but it's a khilaf that shouldn't be an issue amongst Muslims. And this is part of the problem of modern Islam, and pre-modern as well, but part of just provincial Islam, let's call it provincial Islam. Part of the problem with provincial Islam is people want to impose their view about something on everybody. And if it's a matter of ijtihad, you can't do that. It's, al-mukhtalifu fihi la yunkaru. Something that has ikhtilaf is not condemned by Sharia. That's a qaida fiqhiyya. It's a universal principle in Islam. Al-mukhtalifu fihi la yunkaru. Yunkar al-mujma' alayh. Now the ulama do have caveats about that qaida. If you're living in a country where the majority is following one school, like Morocco, where traditionally it was a Maliki country, and people started doing things that were against the urf, then they said, in those type of situations, you could tell them not to do it. But generally, especially in our time now, we have to go for the most compassionate view. Because one of the maqasid of Islam, the 6 universals, or 5, however you want to look at the nasab and the i'rd, but the 6 universals of Islam, the first one is protection of the deen. That's the first one, is to protect the deen. Now, there are things in the past that you did to protect the deen that today would actually cause the opposite to happen. And this takes understanding. If you applied apostasy laws today, it would have the opposite effect of what it had in the past. In the past, everybody believed, they were actually glad to see an apostate gone. Right? So religions had apostasy laws, they applied them, right? But if you applied the apostasy laws today, you'll drive people out of the religion. It has the opposite effect. Sayyidina Umar suspended the cutting off of the hand during drought because people would do things in those situations, and he understood that the hifz al-nafs was over hifz al-mal. And so they were stealing because they were just trying to protect themselves. And so he suspended one for the other. So hifz al-deen, right? To protect the deen, you have to look at what, and this is hikmah, maqasid, looking at the intentions of the sharia. And so, in this time you have to look, and just allow for a lot of rahmah. You should always have that, but particularly now because you drive people away from the religion. And I've seen this happen. People drive people out of Islam. I've seen converts driven out of Islam, personally. And then a lot of Muslims say, oh, khalas, nabadahu al-Islam. They just have this lackadaisical attitude about that, as if it's, Allah yanfi khabatha. No, there's asbab, and we're going to be taken into account. If the Prophet ﷺ will stand beside a dhimmi who was wronged in a Muslim land, he'll be his advocate with Allah on Yawm al-Qiyamah. In other words, don't burn him because he was mistreated by the Muslims. He didn't know what my religion was. He only knew the foul deeds of people that claim to be my followers. The Prophet is an advocate of rahmah. And if there's a reason to have always look for excuses for people, the Prophet ﷺ said that the hypocrite looks for faults and the believer looks for excuses. Right? 70. يَلْتَمِسُ سَبْعِينَ عُذْرًا for his brother. 70 excuses for his brother. Whereas the munafiq, just right away they go to the worst thinking. Because that's in their heart. That's their reality. They're just projecting onto the other their own reality. Any another